Hi everyone, my name is Chris Farah. Welcome to my channel. It's 5:02. I'm 2 minutes late. On Tuesday, October 21st, where today we'll be talking about 90 Day Fiance. This is Toe. It's season 7, episode 7. Honey, it's 7 and 7. Um, it's my dad's favorite drink. A 7 and 7. We're doing a live recap, which means I'm going to wait a little bit as people populate the room and I put on this chapstick. Um, I'm going to really attempt not to say the words and like while we do this live. That is what I'm aiming for. No ums, no likes. We'll see. Besides me saying what I'm not going to say, which you now know, so I don't have to say it. Hi. I love talking about this season because it's a short episode, which is nice. Oh shit. Well, that's a strike against me. Also, it's great because I really enjoy having new people, new couples, and The Other Way certainly has a whole bunch. Whereas Happily Ever After, nope. And it's tedious. I think if we're going to take a moment to talk about Happily Ever After, which of course is airing at the same time, those people are done. Put a fork in them, honey. All of the couples, I don't need them. You've made me, 90 Day Fiance world, not even really enjoy Yara anymore. And I used to love Yara. It's surprising how quickly you can turn against someone. And is that normal human behavior in that am I someone who wants to tear people down? The ones I've idolized as they climbed their way up. If I was to isolate Yara, the parts of Yara that I really enjoyed previously to this season were the parts of her that were funny, snappy. She stood up for herself. She was unabashedly her, and she seemingly very much knew that Jovi was dumb. And all of these things made me love Yara, relate to Yara, see Yara. But upon too much knowing of Yara, do we realize that she, yes, has some insecurity issues, but also sits back in this kind of vain, vapid, superficial, like wanting an old money or, I don't know, to be perceived as like a rich, spoiled daddy's girl. There's a toxic femininity about that kind of behavior that I think bears calling out. Because, you know, it doesn't do her any good and it doesn't do us any good to listen to. So, of course, I like easily could be over Lauren and, even Andre and Libby. The truth is, we know that she has a lot of drama within her family, like her dad and her dumb brother and her like equally dumb sisters. So it's surprising to me that they would waste a whole happily ever after season not on her family. Think about that. Think about how many crazy scenes we've seen of Libby's family and her dad trying to get people together and all of that. This season, crickets, because we're so fucking focused with her relationship with Lauren. Who cares? Like, why would we care about that? I mean, so anyway, having said that, happily ever after. So it makes me happy. And at 5:00, sorry, it's 5:00 now, 5:05. At 5 minutes, which is in 20 seconds, I'll start. But yeah, it's just so interesting how they really fight to give us all these old people, and the ones that are brand new are really relegated to brand new 90 Day Fiancés and The Other Ways. Maybe the Love in Paradises, but it's a good, like, 20% I feel like are new couples. Hi. Okay, let's get into this episode, you guys. Let's start with Petia. Honey, she's packing. Not just those boobies, but she's packing. Now, here's the thing. Wherever she lives, seemingly her stuff is this still there. Like she's packing a bag, but it doesn't seem like she's packing all of her things. It isn't like this place is barren, this apartment. So it just it always makes me feel like, oh, she's not moving there. She's just like going for 3 weeks and then coming back, because they want us to always feel like these people are moving there and this is it. And there's no coming back from this one choice, even though obviously there is. Um, so she says that she's packing a bunch of summer clothes, even though when she gets there, it's fall. And she says he's going to have to buy her clothes when she gets there. Now, I was confused, and I'll tell you why. It's because she's still packing. She's packing right now. So when did she realize that she needed different types of clothes? Also, if you're moving there, wouldn't you be bringing a little bit of everything? Okay, but going back. So why wouldn't you just now knowing that it's fall and you might need to pack different types of clothes, make that adjustment in real time right there? Was that confusing to you guys? It was like, great, do it. Well, great. Well, then put the fall clothes in that bag you're putting clothes in. Stop doing the summer clothes then. You said it. You said it. So, yeah, which is interesting because then when she says, of course, he's going to have to buy me clothes there. It's the first mild hint of what could be, and what he says later is her tragic flaw, if you will. Like, her flaw, her character flaw, one of the character flaws, like Manon is too loud and tense and like doesn't quite understand like how obnoxious she is, or how she could like just simmer down and be better all around for everyone in the room with her. Petia, I think, likes to spend money, loves it, in fact. And so much so that she has racked up credit card debt, lots of credit card debt in Thailand. I mean, wait, no, it was all right. The credit card debt happened in Vegas. I still need to know what went down in Thailand for that option to have failed. Because, yeah, as she's packing and as she says certain things like, that she fears that he, being a mother's boy, will listen to his mom who lives 5 minutes away from them. We understand that that could be a problem. Now, obviously, unless you tell me, his mom didn't live in Thailand. She says that his relationship with his mother, the fact that he's a mama's boy, they talk 5 times a day, accounts for her math 90% of the problems that they have. And, that could be an exaggeration. Because he brought up the like spending, and that has nothing to do with his mom. Now she elaborates and then says, and the other thing about her is that the mom is that she doesn't really like me, not a big fan of me. It's because she wants her son to have grandkids, and I'm a lovely woman of a seasoned age, and we've seen this before. Obviously, on 90 Day Fiance, we have experienced it. It's like PTSD because of Angela, and like, I have a younger man, and Jenny and Sumit, where the mother has envisioned her grandkids from this lineage of this son her whole life. And my face slash age slash body represents, also Darcy, that was kind of like the Jesse thing, represents the failure of that dream in the grandma's eyes. And, it's a really hard thing. I wasn't happy to hear that. So, but one thing that I was really happy to hear for her is that, listen, it's a really long flight. She has to fly from Dallas to Los Angeles, from Los Angeles to Australia or New Zealand. I forgot which one she said. I'm sorry. But therein, she has a little break where she'll freshen up, shower, God bless, look hot AF, and then board a little jumper plane to Tasmania and then just like show up like the Queen of Sheba. Oh, what a dream. I want to know what she spends money on. I mean, I'm just assuming because she looks amazing, upkeep. And then that brings me to, God, I'm going to say this. That brings me to something like this. If she is wanting to maintain a certain lifestyle that includes beauty treatments and self-care and feminine anti-aging maintenance, all of that definitely requires money, good in good doctors, injectors, good, like good estheticians, good products, all of that. Which is why when we were like watching Love Off the Grid or whatever, it's like, well, if you want to look like the way you do, you can't be off the grid. That face, those hair, that extensions, the eyelash extensions, the Botox, all of that is on the grid. And I'm not saying Tasmania is off the grid, but he seemingly is. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain kind of anything goes, adventurous personality that is like very low maintenance. And, specifically, it often presents like hyper masculine, in this kind of like whatever. Let me, how to say this? He's an earthy man, and like all the people, I keep forgetting that couple from Love Off the Grid. I feel like I'm talking about. It's that one guy like who was like Southern and that one blonde girl who had sons. It's hard for them to wrap their minds around how much time and energy and the art of feminine anti-aging maintenance upkeep. Just like there's a lot of things that they do that, I'm sure blows my mind, but the money alone will be confusing for those men to wrap their mind around that we want to spend. Yet they certainly appreciate the visual outcome. It's like the hidden cost. I mean, literally, it's the hidden cost. It's the hidden cost in that it's hidden and it's a specific price cost as opposed to some indirect reactionary thing. It's just, I wonder what the equivalent is. Like, I wonder what, besides maybe electronics or dudes' toys, like what kind of thing would blow my mind, either how expensive, how hard, or how much energy it takes to do right in that kind of world. I mean, I feel like it's all would be like something like homesteady, like how long it takes to start a fire or something like that, which certainly is a lot. Yeah, a lot of women have tricked men into thinking that their beauty is run of the mill. But it's not hers. She's really not. She's extraordinarily beautiful lady regardless of age. And so she's going to incur costs. And so she knows that, he knows that, but what I want to know for her is that she's not marrying anyone that can help her with the costs at all. Doesn't seem that way. She doesn't need to. She's marrying for love, she says, which is great. So all I'm saying is she's going to have to give that shit up, which is great because she's in love, right? She's going to have to give up those like beauty treatments so she doesn't spend that money on that credit card. I don't know what else she'd be spending a lot of money on besides clothes. See, the thing is, when you're like an exotic dancer, you can definitely talk me into being like, well, I'm not just buying clothes, bitch. I'm buying costumes. I'm buying brand new lingerie and that shit goes. And I'm buying, heels and, hair, accessories, and makeup, and yeah, for sure, all of that money. Then I would also be like, but hopefully you are making it back, God bless. Um, because she seems to be a successful dancer. She seems to be someone who has gotten the game, made a lot of money. She knows what to do. She's gotten into places that, has procured her a lifestyle. So I can't imagine that at her season age, she's not making bank. But I understand that still it's a hard world out there for women, we make less than anyone else, and we are expected to look more beautiful than anything in the whole world, and so all of that costs money and men never get it. So even the ones that are like, yeah, I'm a feminist and I'm in, like I'm for equal rights, it's always like, well, then pay your reparations to me. But they won't, because they're not. Do you hear what I say? Anyways, she comes on her journey to meet him, and of course his mom's not there. Great. With a big kangaroo stuffed animal. Why? I don't want to see grown women with stuffed animals. I'm going to tell you this right now. I travel with a pillow for lots of reasons. Most of the time, because I'm on a plane, I want a pillow. I don't want to see seasoned women with stuffed animals traveling with them, big ones. It seems weird. She like has roses. I think it's weird that she brought stuff for him. You're traveling. You're the one coming to him. Was that weird? She wants to kiss him like a dog. And that means that she licks his face over and over again. He takes it. Now, here's the thing. If you have a little inside joke that that's what you do, that you give each other like doggy kisses, and that sometimes that means that you like do like a little, sure. But I think the thing about that is that it lasts like a couple of flicks, specifically if it happens like in public, and then we move on. It felt like she licked him like a salt lick for a long ass time. He's like, "I don't know why she does it. I'm okay with it." He doesn't look super happy about it. I guess the other thing about it is, why wouldn't you wanna just be kissing? Like normal kissing, like, like them French people do, or just the other people that just kiss. Then when you kiss him after you've licked him, like, you're all wet. Also, I can't imagine to assume that someone enjoys being wet like that all over their mouth and face. I hate it. I'm like a sensory person. I just spent like 2 hours trying to cook in my kitchen, and for some reason I still don't even feel like what I cooked is appetizing. And I'm very cognizant of that. Also, if you are someone who's going to, show up with a juvenile stuffed animal and someone who wants to do doggy kisses, and I agree with you, it could be performative, and understand the producers might egg it on. How are you also someone that incurs like a lot of credit card debt due to the finer things in life? Because at this point, if you told me that she incurred credit card debt by being like a Disneyland fanatic, having that top premium pass, going a lot and, shopping there, I'd be like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I can see it. Like she goes, a lot or whatever. She stays the Grand California, and, she rolls deep and whatever. She's a big fan. Or God bless the Robin Brown route, not to just like beat a dead horse, because I talked about Sister Wives yesterday for like 2 hours in Robin's Etsy doll collection. What finer things in life is this woman spending money on? Is it Gucci purses and this stuffed animal? Okay. So let's move on to Madeline and Luke. Also, one more thing about that. He said the finer things in life. which his version of what that means could be something different. Sorry, I know this is like a clickety clacky gold bangle thing in your ear, but on the other hand, they're ethnic. So, anyway, and they make me happy. And I'm somewhat ear blind to them. And 'tis the season. It almost sounds like reindeer. Okay, so let's move on. Madeline and Luke. We're hot on the heels of a cake in the face. uh, she having found out the thing that happened episode like 1, which is that he had a stripper, not Petia, although it'd be lovely if it was, come to his bachelor party, sit in his lap in Fresno, do that thing where they kind of like, you know, gyrate their bodies while somewhat straddling them. And he did that thing where he's like, no, but allows it because he's looking down and not going to obviously get up from that moment and definitely not going to tell her to stop. She, having been told the truth, which he wants an absolute prize for, Luke is like, I told you. So where's my car? Like he's like, did you do it, Luke, to tell her to try and get gold stars? She obviously has the reaction she did, which definitely wasn't planned, which of course is the cake in the face, that he sits in and just stares at people and then asks for a towel. Bitch, get up and get your own towel. She, of course, is now home after having a confrontation with him where he was like, please. And she's like, it's over. It's over. And her version now is to pack his like tartan, black and white, red tartan, kind of check colored, Scottish fabric suitcase, just tears up his red roses, honey, those cheap red roses he got, and puts them all out on the front door, honey. Her extensions are indicative of her mental state, which is everywhere. She's a frazzled lady. She's going through it, and we can tell. She's upset. She feels like it's been a waste of 2 years. She very much feels like he touched her, if not more. When she keeps saying touched her, I keep being like, is this also your way of being like, you think that he fucked her? Like, do you also kind of think in your mind that he'd for sure fucked this person? Because you keep saying touched, but the way you say touched, sorry, hiccup, kind of feels like you're saying fucked. Of course, so basically he then of course gets his shit together, tries to pick up some more stupid flowers, these ones pink roses. He's like, you don't like red. And goes back to the house, realizes his stuff's out there. He tries to talk to her. She has no makeup on. It's the next day. It feels like it's the next day. And she's like sitting on a plastic chair in the balcony. And he says his piece, which is, again, that he told her the truth. So, hi, did the thing. What's wrong? And also he tries to tell her that he never touched her. And she's like, I'm not dumb. You're the one that's dumb. She literally almost impersonates him at his bachelor party, where she kind of like does the thing he did, which is not touch but enjoy. Not touch but allow to be worshipped. I don't know how to it's such a what like, he feels like he's just not actively touching. Touch is a weird word because it denotes both active and inactive moments. Like right now, my butt is touching a chair. It's touching the chair. I mean, it's my choice to be sitting on this chair. Obviously, when we go to public spaces like metros and subways, we have to just sort of touch people if we're sitting down sometimes. It's like not so much their choice or our choice, and yet our bodies are touching. He wants to make touch a word that means when you actively try to drive skin contact, when you are the aggressor of continued skin contact. But the truth of the matter is touch is touching. Things be touching are touching. You know what I'm saying? It's semantics. And for her, who's like, I'm so happy she's so intelligent for her age. I'm not saying that she is emotionally intelligent, and I'm not saying she's making the best decisions, but she's a snappy girl. She really is. Even if she misspelled May Beauty the first season, I don't give a fuck. It's not a first language. She just, God bless. I think with Madeline, she has two things, well, she has a lot of things going for her. One is that there are people in this world that are going to really enjoy someone who looks like her, who is someone who looks really young. She's a really, really young looking lady, tiny, petite. And I think that when you see that kind of person, you assume this person is going to be like submissive. And so I'm always happy when that personality is the antithesis or not. Luke is submissive to her in every way. Like that, I've never seen him put his foot down and like demand anything and get it. You know what I'm saying? So, all that to say, she does remind me of Jasmine. And the only reason why well, first of all, it's because she's still young and she doesn't have children. So everything I'm watching doesn't seem like it affects anyone but her. And it does feel like she's absolutely like, and so was Jasmine using the other one for money. I, just like I don't like Gino, don't like Luke. So if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick Madeline. And when it comes to Jasmine and Gino, I wash my hands of them completely. I don't care about either one of them. I think they're both, nightmarish when it comes to like moral code. She says, I want peace, and you don't give it to me. It's been 2 years and I have no peace at all. I loved that. Like, even if this is fake, I love the idea that her truthful complaint to him is that she expects at some point in like a loving relationship for there to be peace, and there's been none. Now you can tell me, Chris, it's because she wouldn't allow it. Chris, it's because she's a dramatic person, and so it wouldn't last. And I would be like, she's only mad when he doesn't pay for things that he says he's going to pay for, and when he and her are accusing each other of cheating. Which again was the kind of the things that happened with Jasmine and Gino. Like that was basically all of their fights. Her being mad at Gino in the beginning for not paying for things, but also, yeah, like saying that he either cheated or, talked to his ex, and then, him saying Dane. And that happened with Madeline and Luke. Remember, like, whether she slept naked in bed with someone last time we saw them, and now, of course, it's the stripper talk. After she says that peace line, I thought he was going to leave. Like he got his stuff, he put it in the trunk. I'm sorry, he put it in a car, that checkered fabric suitcase. But then the next shot was he climbed in the bed with her. And she's crying. And he's like, please, baby, like, can't we get past this? And she's like, no, go away. And I want her to be like, why are you still in this house? And maybe it's because he pays for it. I don't know the answer. He crawled in the bed. Oh my God, I know. I literally was like, how are you still here? Also because I kind of expected at Madeline at some point because we saw them outside, to have not let him inside and or screamed at him or locked the door or one of her things. She was crying in a way that wasn't aggressively in his face, kind of like, get the fuck out of here. She really was like fetal position, in a sad way crying. Okay, let's move on. We've already brought them up. Well, we've actually, jumped around and talked about other couples, both in this franchise and, of course, other ones. But let's move on to Jenny and Sumit. So Jenny and Sumit, obviously living at Sumit's house, hot on the heels of Sadhna being like okay with Jenny and like somewhat sticking up for her against her sister-in-law, which has filled Sumit with a certain amount of hope, and at the same time has weighed upon Jenny with even more dread. Jenny, this is a weird season for Jenny in a lot of ways. Energetically, uh, like her storyline, people on the streets feel like she doesn't look or read healthy, like her energy, her like vibrancy, like the look and spark in her eyes. And definitely they are going to bring up certain things which we'll have to discuss, which is we know that Sumit's parents are yoga gurus, and Sadhna comes in and is like, let's get some yoga done, honey. And she looks right at Jenny and she's like, you've gained weight, of course, in Indian. And when Sumit tries to tell Jenny that, he like lessens the blow by being like, she said we both do. We both need to lose some weight. It's like, I'll be honest, I don't go through my life looking at people's bodies and then really judging them like back and forth. I know, Jenny has always been a lovely lady. They did a montage of Jenny, and it comes up when Jenny talks about her other yoga experiences, and then we've seen them when they had tantric yoga and blah blah blue. And she definitely has, you know, unfortunately, maybe gained a little bit of weight. And I hate to bring that up, but it's hard sometimes when you're also like, getting up there. When you are also Yeah, when you're also my gosh, I'm like, I don't know, I'm like dancing around saying what I'm saying. When you are an elder person, it's hard when you start to gain weight because you sort of compound things, and that can be like challenging, like joints and like energy levels and stuff like that. And I didn't realize that maybe she had until they started bringing it up and we saw this montage. And then I can harken back to her sort of demeanor this season, and it's been like moving through molasses, honey. We know that she hasn't ascertained any devotion to Indian cooking since living there, right? Like she has that disgusting spaghetti with like shitty cheese. And now we also realize that we know that she doesn't speak Indian. And then she also like hasn't gotten into yoga like at all for living in India with, a son of Indian guru yoga fame. It's like she really has not assimilated at all. But I'm not saying she has to. It's interesting. I like kind of love it because, especially in America and stuff like that, we talk all the time about assimilation of immigrants, right? And like, not maybe we don't talk about it all the time. Maybe because my family immigrated that I think about this. There's the folks that there was a generation, like my dad's generation came over in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, and that whole side was like, let's learn English as fucking soon as possible, and let's pretend, honey, that we're like Americana. Now there are definitely people that do that nowadays in modern 2025 who come from different countries. There's also a lot of beautiful immigrant peeps that like come to pockets of America and find communities where they don't really have to assimilate to, you know, this traditional European, I guess, or whatnot, Americana culture of like apple pie and hot dogs and hi there, that kind of stuff. Jenny, of course, moved to India later on in life. It's just interesting because you would think it would make her life a little easier and there'd be a little more social and or more dopamine if she was able to share in the experience and community of where she's at. And not speaking a language, not cooking or enjoying a cuisine, not doing physical and or communal social gatherings, rooted in either health and or things, that's basically what yoga is. You know, could you imagine living somewhere but then being able to go to like a yoga class and then just like at least for that moment knowing you're going to be in a room full of people sharing that experience if you don't know how to speak a certain language or whatnot. It really makes me feel like Jenny is so isolated. Like it's just her. And that's why she's like, it has to be Sumit too. There would be more joy in your life if you got to experience that human connection and the communal shared magic that happens in those kind of spaces with other people. Like this yoga class or whatever, like being in that shared communal space that like for an hour seems sacred. Everyone's there. Maybe they chant, maybe they move. Like that's a mass. That's a religion. That's going to Sunday church. That's going to temple. That like the art of that kind of gathering does something to us. And so in a way it is aligned with religion, but when you think of sports or that kind of effort too, there's the need of the human in all of us to have shared experiences. I mean, obviously, I'm an actor and a comedian, and so those moments, of course, can also happen in theater spaces and comedy spaces. That's why I think at the end of the day, or at least why I hope, or why I feel like I intrinsically know that AI can't take over everything, because I cannot imagine being able to give up intentionally and being also healthy those kinds of moments and those kinds of experiences. And so as we talk about like Jenny like looking tired or like looking like, like she's not healthy or whatever, I'm just like I'm like, well, yeah, of course you don't do anything in India. You make shitty spaghetti and then cover it with shitty powdered granule sand cheese. Maybe you FaceTime like your daughters, but you need to be like a part of the fabric of the world you're in some way. It's funny because yeah, India is, I've said this before, like, somewhat of a communal, community based culture that feels different from like the Western cultures. And I don't mean to be super stereotypical about it because there's definitely Western cultures that have like a more familiar obligation and or communalness. I think like Italy or whatever and South America, all of like Asia has a lot. Definitely the Middle East. I think you have to, when you move to any country, so for Jenny to move to India, you have to give in to where you move a little bit. Like therein lies the rub. You've made a choice. It's funny because I never would want to tell like someone who immigrated to America, like, give up your culture, give up your give up your ways, to give up your language. I would never do that. At the same time, I think, to be honest, when you move to any new world society, city, community, nation, there's a part of you that obviously surrenders to where you now are. That's how the post office works here. And we do this things this like that all makes sense. We agree as a society that this is how we do things. We don't touch each other inappropriately on the subway, even though I brought that up, you know. We try not to, even though obviously sometimes our bodies do indirectly touch. You know, touching is a weird word and we don't know how to describe it, I guess, Luke, you know. So Jenny needs to kind of like change her mindset. You know, I think that she would be better to jump into some yoga. And I'll be honest, we get two different kinds. We've gotten a lot of different types of yoga. Obviously, the tantric yoga, which I've never done, and I certainly would love to do it. And I've never really done anything tantric. And you would think that I've done something like with a sexual workshop or some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of misty woo woo retreat or something. Not never. And I really need to change that about myself because just for like the stories alone, I kind of want to go to one of those things. Anyway, this kind of yoga that Jenny's is going to do with Sumit is, as Sumit says, pooping yoga. Now, I hate that. I hate it too. I hate the word or whatever. And Jenny's like, also, I don't want to do it. Also, like, straight up, I don't need to because I don't have any problem pooping by myself. And then Sumit looks right at her and not nary a second. He's like, liar. And when Jenny heard that, she snapped her face so much. I mean, she got a Charlie horse in that neck. That's a lot of information. So Jenny, you're okay. Is this all about Jenny being constipated? Is this why this yoga is happening because it traveled through the grapevine in the household, which we now know has 2 bathrooms, that Jenny is constipated. Okay, so they're going to drink water, salt water, but the salt is some special salt that they have in India that's like sulfur salt or smells like sulfur. You know, it's interesting. Well, only if you find it interesting. There's all the different kinds of like cleanses, you know, colon cleanses and all the stuff or whatever that you can do to kind of make sure that you are doing what Jenny is trying to do, which is clean you out, you know, including getting a colonic. People do all those things. I've like just never heard of it's like what kind of sulfur salt water this is. And I would love to know a little more. Maybe I'll do some research. I'll tell you, and this is not too much information, but I'll tell you that one time I did a juice cleanse, and I think about this all the time because I really enjoyed this juice cleanse. Um, in Hawaii, if you're ever in Kauai, there's a Kauai juice company, and you can get a juice cleanse while you're there, which is lovely. Because if you're in Hawaii and you're staying somewhere, it's like you're not really trying to eat that much during the day, and having just a bunch of fresh, like the best tasting fresh organic fruit juices, you know, it's great. They give you something else though. It's like this little vial of oil. It's called MCT oil. And I remember that when I did that, it was effective. Okay, so I looked at the salt. It's called Kala Namak sulfur salt, a traditional Indian mineral salt. Kala Namak, or black salt, sports a pinkish gray color and unmistakably faintly sulfuric mineral taste. Sulfuric, you know, is rotten eggs. They say they use it on steamed vegetables, tofu, and many recipes for authentic Indian cuisine. Okay, now I'm like, okay, well, but also it's a diuretic of some kind because yeah, the yoga that they have, they do when it first starts. I'm assuming it's going to be like a twisty kind. I did a lot of Bikram, and a lot of Bikram in that heat is the twists, you know, are there to help the movement process. And so I was expecting to see maybe some more vigorous poses, but I didn't. In fact, the first pose they started with was just laughing yoga. Now, laughing yoga is a whole other yoga that I've never tried. Like, I would love to try laughing yoga, and I would love to try that baby goat yoga. And I don't want to try the yoga that Sadhana does, where like you put a piece of yarn up your nose and you like use it like a wet noodle back and forth. Yeah, it's considered a cooling spice, this kala namak in Ayurveda. Oh gosh, how do you say that word? I know how to Ayurveda. I know you know what I'm talking about. Ayurveda. It's the Eastern philosophy of health word. Yeah, it's used as a laxative and digestive aid. I mean, yeah, like it's interesting because Jenny has at her disposal really lovely, holistic options for her to recenter herself and her health. If she started eating with a little more fiber, a little more like whole foods, nutritious foods, perhaps did a little movement, like a little yoga, and yeah, Ayurveda. Ayurveda? Ayurveda? Or is it Ayurveda? Veda. It has to be Veda. Ayurveda. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, if she could really lean into the household she lives in with the customs and cultures kind of already built in with some of that like, knowledge of, Eastern ingredients and Eastern, ways of getting the body to like, you know, work, I think that would be really great for Jenny. What if that was the storyline? Like, what if this entire season started now where it was like, you know what? Jenny like fully succumbed and was like, I want to feel better. If you guys are saying that me doing a bunch of yoga, laughing yoga for sure, a part of it, I'll start to learn how to make really beautiful stews, rice dishes, chopped up veggies like carrots, potatoes, putting them in a whole beautiful sauce that doesn't really contain like any dairy. I feel like Indian cuisine, like is healthy. Not that dairy is unhealthy. I don't want to like bastardize any foods. I don't, but I guess if we're to believe that her cuisine is white bleached enriched dry pasta, canned tomato sauce, powdered cheese. Like my God, let's lean into like what's already there. So yeah, if this entire season became like Jenny's like health journey while also acquiescing to Indian life and culture, therefore kind of somewhat compromising into sadhana more and her POV, it would be so great. And it's funny because their entire storyline has been about how Sadhana has to accept them, right? And I'm not saying she doesn't, but like Jenny hasn't, Jenny hasn't given. She hasn't like kind of just said yes and like gone with the flow of things here. And I think it's the final piece to this. And I think that there's a whole reason why she's so tired is this fight because she won't do it. I wonder how much easier her life would be if she did? Also me. Could you imagine if I could get my ass up in the fucking morning, make tea, not coffee, tea, chai at like 6 a.m., do yoga, clean the whole house, start the breakfast of like healthy ass breakfast, egg shakshuka, who knows? I mean, yeah. Then teach yoga classes all day. I mean, yeah, my life would be better. I don't know, but um, she needs to, yeah, yoga's hard, but the yoga that they're making her do is actually very easy. It's just that you have to hold your body in positions. Yoga isn't stretching, and not even stretching really is like supposed to be just flopping into positions and then just being there. Now, this is something I straight up had to learn because I'm like a hypermobile person. And so I literally would do yoga for years, get myself in the position that is what they do, and then just kind of not hold myself upright, but just sit in my joints until I had to move. Really fucked up. But I thought I was doing things right. Not. Having said that, the act of holding yourself up in even basic positions of yoga is hard, right? Like people are like, well, why is it a workout? And then you're like, well, yeah, okay, let's do downward dog correctly. Breathe, hold. You're going to start shaking, you know, because yeah. So all that to say, it'd be great to have Jenny kind of understand why like Sumit's dad is coming and telling her that she's doing it wrong. It's because it's not just like getting yourself in the position. It's like breathing while you hold yourself in the position against the storm that is gravity, that is your mind, that is fatigue. But then allowing compassion to know that this is where you are today and it will be different tomorrow. And this is not a result orientated practice. This is a practice where the practice is the process, period, you know? And if there's anything that you can like really focus on, I assume in my work, I mean, again, I've never like gone to teacher training, would be just to connect movement with breath, be present, movement with breath. Well, you know, and yeah, maybe we can just do, wouldn't it be great if like, what if Jenny did, this is the last thing I'll talk about it. What if Jenny did like an Instagram yoga challenge? Kind of like Bilal and Shida. I mean, wouldn't it be great though? I did a little snort, but I still want it to happen. Don't think I don't want it to happen. Okay, Manat and Anthony. I think they really tried us. They gave us a break with them. It really does feel like they knew that we got a lot of her screaming and they're like, okay, the audience needs a break. So we will. And then we'll give them some scenes of levity. So we get him trying to learn French and then, you know, giving his French like the hardest American accent, you know, with the most erotic R's and all that stuff. And then having her be like, no. He's like, merci beaucoup. And she's like, no, that's not how you say it. I can't, first of all, I cannot do a French accent. And I'm mad about that. I wish I could. Not at all can I do it. I blame a lot of things. I blame the fact that I was born in California. So I learned Spanish and Spanish steeped in my brain. And Spanish is great because Spanish is like a language where when you read it, that's how you say it. No, French is a whole fucking crazy ass language, honey, where there'll be a bunch of letters that you don't say. Now, I know English has that too, like through the door doesn't make any goddamn sense. But it's one thing, yeah, French, my mouth around French, also sounds gross, words is awkward. Just like my mouth around the first time I bloopity bloops. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it doesn't know its way. It's like, whoa, merci beaucoup. No. This is the last thing I'll say about it is that I'm mad about this a lot. And this is the last thing I'll say. I did a study abroad in France when I was in college. And I went to Paris, easy to say. Cool. I went to a place and sometimes I say it right, sometimes I don't. And here's a shot. Avignon. I don't think it was that bad. It got so much better. For 20 years, I would try and tell people where I went, and I would just be like, Avignon, Avignon, Arvin, Avignon. It's an Avignon. It's like spelled Avignon. It's just, it's like the weirdest harmony. The French accent to me feels like being in the chorus of a musical and then being assigned a weird harmony that you just have to find the note out of midair and then fucking sing on command. If anyone's a singer or musician, you know what I mean. again, that's something that would happen to me where because I'm an alto, because I sit comfortably in a mezzo alto and because I don't always want to like try and I mean, there's a lot of girls in musical theater that can give for soprano and I'm just fine. That's fine. You really get up there, honey, and you use that head voice, honey, and you use your nasal capacities to make sure those notes are sharp. That's fine. Give me a belt. That's cool. But often when I was like in choruses, I would have to get a stupid harmony line and the harmony line would be hard for someone who only knows who's been hearing the song and like knows the melody and suddenly, you know, the chorus happens and then you have to be I know I can't even do it. Uh it's that kind of panic that happens when I think I have to speak in a French accent where I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to get it from. It doesn't live comfortably in any part of my knowledge. It's not normal or natural to me and I'm just going to have to like open my mouth, hope for the best. Um so they are flirtatious over this moment, and it bodes well for especially how antagonistic and combative their entire relationship has been thus far. He is taking it upon himself to be the executor of action for the family by taking the reins and renting them a car. And in his decision to be the active, the active participant against the world of this family, in line, at the car place, using his basic French. In that moment, she was allowed, energetically or whatnot, to kind of connect with Ben. I thought it was a weird, like interesting, not weird. I thought it was an interesting moment as he is like asking to rent a car. So she's not having to. She's not the one interacting. I mean, granted, of course, she couldn't help herself of being like to the French guy, this guy's learning French, be easy on him. Without her having to feel like she has to face the world and battle the world, she was able to be present in the moment and just be with Ben. And then he looks over and clocks that moment. So then later on in the car that they've now rented with Ben in the back seat and a seemingly better disposition, she brings up the fact that she's been thinking about a brand new business venture. And we're like, how long have you been here? And the business venture seems weird, but I'll just tell you about it. It seems that she wants to create a beauty line. And at first I was like, is this have anything to do with like body positivity? Only because to me, if you've built a huge platform on that, great, but not quite. At least not to me in a sense of what she describes. She's like, no, 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 no. The whole thing is like the south of France where we're gonna go to them and do like herbal beauty products. And I was like, oh, so like La Occitan, which I also, cannot speak French, but I'm talking about L apostrophe OCCITAINE, that kind of gold ish looking shop that's in some of the malls that makes that almond oil shampoo. You know what I'm talking about? That one, Léo Sinton. That's the entire brand of that place is Provence lavender stuff. Like that's what that is. Anyway, so when she said, I was like, oh, I've heard of it. And then she's like, well, that's, a lot. And also, can we breathe for a second? Because I thought the whole thing was for you to reconnect with your son. And like, that was the first time that you like made eye contact with him in front of me just now while we've been in France at the car place. So like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, 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 no. Don't even worry about it. It's basically going to be not a problem at all. What it means is that you and I and Ben get to travel all around France and you can see France and we'll be also sourcing materials. And I was like, oh, who pays for that? And then he's also like, yeah, who pays for that? She's like, oh, no, I'm just going to like court investors. And I was like, oh, how nice. She doesn't think she's going to court investors until she's done all the research. I'm like, oh, so you're just going to rent this car and just drive around Marseille? I mean, that's what I would. I did. Not that car. But, I would love to know, like, maybe like one more other thing, like that her aunt that lives still in Provence has a presserie and makes lavender oil, that she has an in with and can blah blah blue, or that she grew up loving beauty products. But like I was like, does this have anything to do with anything you've ever done? Again, because it was being a body positive plus size model, Instagram influencer plus brand marketing in a social media space, which none of those things is like chemist for beauty products, which I realize was like basically what Kylie did, but Kylie Jenner. So yeah, I guess I need to know that she wants to be like a Kylie Jenner. She wants to leverage her Instagram fame to then open up like a French beauty brand. We don't get to see her doing any social media stuff like through 90 Day Fiance. Like it isn't like for someone who is working all the time, we got to see her like last party with her friends. But these influencers, they're doing things on a day-to-day basis. Like, they're waking up, they're looking at their camera, they're showing their breakfast, they're talking to camera, right at camera, giving a rant about the blah blah blue situation. So I almost wish that we would get a little bit of the flavor of what her work is like that more. And maybe you're like, Chris, you can go to her Instagram and find out. And I'm like, I don't want to. But maybe that would answer why I was confused about how good of an idea this business is. If she's day in and day out showing serums on her face, talking about how her grandma has a secret special recipe, that involves dried lavender and some secret misty woo woo French product, I don't know. That's how they all have that skin. I believe it. The thing about France is that it does have a built-in stereotype of having good skincare. It's not, I mean, specifically the drugstores. Ugh. So he's, like not happy with it, but he tries to get her to say no. And she's like, no, 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 I'm going to do it. I'm just going to like appease you by saying that if it turns out to be a problem, you can just tell me and I'll stop. Right. Sure, Jan. When she said that to him, I was like, if I was him, I'd be like, no, I won't be able to. I'll tell you that this is too much, and then you'll get mad at me and scream at me. Real talk. You would have to record her in real time saying that, and then also then have a draft of a contract written up, and then have her sign it. And then when this is happening, bring out both. And the contract says no arguments. If I bring up that your business new venture is overwhelming the family as we process, whatever our estrangement, you have no recourse, you have no rebuttal, you just give it up. Is the only way I would ever, believe that. But he doesn't. He just is like, yep, sounds good. We're like, okay. Now, here's the thing. The other thing about it is he also likes the idea of driving around France and smelling lavender. Who doesn't? It's very calming, very soothing. Oh my God. Makes you want to go to bed. I love lavender, but like real lavender, like good quality essential oil or good quality actual lavender. None of that fake shit. So let's move on to our last couple, who is Chloe and Johnny. Now, Chloe, I've realized, to me, looks like Renee Rapp. I like Renee Rapp. So just in case, Renee Rapp is, here's a picture of Chloe with Prada shades, honey. Renee Rapp was Regina George in the Broadway version of the Mean Girls movie. And she's also like a pop star now. Maybe you guys are like, bitch, we know who Renee Rapp is. And I'm like, oh yeah. It's because she started off being like a Broadway person. So that's why I know her, but other people know her for other things. I mean, I get it. She's like, okay. She's a very obviously cool girl. So yeah, Chloe gives me like a little Renee Rapp sometimes, especially I know I showed a profile specifically in her head on. So he's packing to go to work and she's going to go hang out with her friend Anna, who she describes as her bestie, who Honey, she just walked into a bar one day by herself. This is Chloe. Saw Anna, who was by herself. Just went up to her, met, and then became best friends. That is like stuff that happens when you are like between the ages of like 20. No, wait. That happens between the ages of like 5 up until 27, or for some people 32. And then yeah, and then it doesn't happen anymore. That kind of instantaneous, this is it, friends. What happens is you can still have a moment. You can still have moments where you're like, oh, this person's energy feels familiar, feels great. Oh, their mind is quick, or I don't know, it's like that's me, or their mind works like mine does, or we work off each other. Like they see the same things I do, and we can comment together, or whatever. I mean, whoever knows the ways in which that you connect with someone, but if the first thought happens of like, oh, those are one of those kinds of people, you still have like now the grain of salt of, yeah, but I've been burned. What's this person's fucking end game? And also, what is this person like all the time? Because people can be really charming when they're like high on adrenaline and also like trying to be charming. And then later on, ugh, ugh. Okay. Anna, also her best friend that she just met at the bar, shares with Chloe the fact that her boyfriend also works in the hospitality industry. And then she says that, she understands a Reuben man, a Reuben men. And I was like, oh my God, a Reuben men. You understand a Reuben men, honey. So we get the scene where, you know, Johnny's supposed to feel like everything is okay and like everything is on the up and up. He knows the cameras are filming Chloe. He doesn't really ask what Chloe's going to do with, Anna. While Chloe's with Anna, she talks about the fact that they location share and that she was no longer going to do that. And it's a hard transition for her because of her trust issues, because she really moved to Aruba to start her life. This isn't some passing fancy. This is the beginning of her life with her man, her husband, and she needs to like be able to like sit in that. So she's telling her friend Anna where to go, and her friend's like following her, co-pilot directions. And then she realizes that Chloe's taking her to a spot on the beach that allows them an eagle eye view of the Jolly Pirate ship. Honey, sail Jolly Pirates. And so we get a beautiful shot of this gorgeous ship on top of, my God, teal, turquoise, blue water. I mean, look at that water. Oh, I've never been. I've never been to the region at all. Never seen water like this. I mean, Hawaii has beautiful water too. This water is unbelievable though. So, um, they see him like, do one of their hanging tricks, their vine swinging tricks. I mean, she wants to just watch and make sure that he's not picking up, as she describes, tooth floss wearing gals, just like she was, and flinging them over. And her friend gets it because it's a hard ass life. And this is what they've chosen. And they know how easy it is to be a girl getting swept up literally and figuratively. It's hard. It's hard though. I wonder why, and I wonder if we'll ever get to see Johnny like on the boat. Like, I wonder if producers will pay for a session because he has the 5 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, or whatever. Because surely Sail Jolly Pirates would enjoy the 90 Day Fiance publicity boost of like getting to watch him in his element. What's hard is that you would also then need to get any drunk and or patron and or drunk and or not drunk, sorry, but probably drunk, but any person on the ship that would be on camera whose face would be shown would have to then sign an, you know, an agreement. But wouldn't it be so great slash so dumb, but slash so great if the next scene was her and Anna like getting dressed up in disguises and then going to like one of the late night booze ones and like trying to see if he's flirting with girls. And then if this was like a straight 80s sitcom, Chloe would have like a red wig on and she would think that she would look very different. So then she would think it'd be okay to like go up to Johnny and like try and flirt, trick him, like seeing if he would flirt with this mysterious hot redhead who surely looks mildly like Chloe but isn't Chloe. And then she'd be like, I got you, Johnny. You know, like I what I know we can't have that, but can we? Yes, like Lucy and Ethel. Yes. Yes, of course. Yes. Oh my God. I feel like we're halfway there. I feel like when I was watching this, I feel like at one point she had said something like, if I see him with one of these babes, I'm going to like jump in the water and swim over to him. And I was like, great, let's, can I see that? Could you imagine if like Madeline was Chloe? Like if Madeline was dating someone, like if Johnny was Luke, if Madeline had to deal with a Johnny, would Madeline deal with a Johnny? How would Madeline deal with a Johnny? How would a Johnny deal with a Madeline? Then like what would Luke and Chloe's conversation be like? While they watch that. Silent, awkward, a lot of looks. Chloe wouldn't want to talk to Luke. Luke would try and talk to Chloe, but like it'd be like really mismatched and like it'd be forced, stilted conversation. That was the end of the episode, pretty much, my babes. What do you guys think? Oh my goodness, there was a lot that happened. I feel like for it to be 45 minutes. I'm really into it. We obviously didn't have any Greta, which makes me sad, and Matthew, because I am going to be like very interested in watching Greta and Matthew like take on England. A lot of the scenes we've had so far of them have been like in the house, in his room with the parents and the cake, you know. We got, of course, a little bit of them like driving through the town when she was like, look, sheep and old people. But that's what I want to see. Cobblestones, sheep and old people. I'm assuming we're going to see a scene where they go apartment shopping. If they make it that way. There's a whole other part of them that maybe just like absolutely disintegrates hard and fast. Because I know they've been together for a long time, but they haven't lived together before. And you know, when you have like sort of like your own world and singular mindsets, it's like way easy to be in spaces with someone else and then just like exist together and bounce off each other and then go back. Because kind of in the same way that I was talking about Jenny, because you don't live with that person. You aren't sharing space and time in a life with that person. So you aren't acquiescing any part of yourself, nor are you witnessing that person do anything for you and then judging in real time if it's enough for you. Like, did Greta know, and I'm assuming no, that Matthew would think that a half empty drawer would be enough? I think she's looking at that being like, that's not enough. That's not nearly enough. And if that's what you're willing to give, if you're not willing to budge anymore on allowing me space into your life, this is probably not going to work. It's now there's a whole other part where you're like, oh, he just is not aware that, you know, that's where he has to make adjustments. But he is not only But he is wanting to, but he's now aware and excited to shift gears. We will see. But the fact that he opened also, I mean, this is again last episode. He didn't open. He closed the episode with saying that he feels like she doesn't appreciate what he did. I would just absolutely need a deep dive on what that is. Because there's a world in which we don't know things, maybe. And I need to know. What are those things? Because yeah, from the outside in, she's done more. And you absolutely need to be more movable than you are. All right, my babes. I'm going to call it a night and say goodbye to you all. But I'm glad you guys like my dumb storylines. And yeah, Mr. Sharp is not reading. I certainly wish he would. I wrote him an email when this is a true story. I met him at the Hunt for Love party. And when he had Suki be the tell-all host, I was because I told him to do that. I was so happy. I did write him an email saying thank you. So I do wish he would I wish he would be more into my channel because he listens to me and my opinions are valuable. Obviously, he knows that. All right, Amy, thank you so much for listening. Love you, girl. Tammy, thank you so much for everything as well. And Marie, if you're still here, I'll talk to you later. All right, babes. Tomorrow, watch Love is Blind, and then we'll get tomorrow's 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live to talk about the wedding episode or what's going to happen. I can't imagine any of these people getting married, and even if they wanted to get married, it's just, I think, till the tell all. That's my piece. But that's all I have to say about that. If you want to follow me, you can absolutely follow me for more. I'm at Chris L. Farah on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Substack. Chris Farah. You can follow me all there. And that's it, my babes. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please like this video and please subscribe to this channel. And please make sure that you post a comment when the video is done, and then I will be able to comment back. Thank you so much for listening. It means so much. Hopefully whatever you're cooking is good. All right, my babes, take care of one another. Take care of yourselves. Stand up for what you believe and make art, like cooking. But don't make it shitty pasta with canned tomato sauce. All right, bye.